Okay, so I'm going to get started with our class. Welcome and thank you for joining me. I want to start this out by saying, oh, well, first, I'm Angela and I'm helping out Cole Gallery as they bring their classes online. And that does not mean that I'm an expert in any way. And it kind of terrifies me to think that I'm being represented that way because all I am is just an artist like you guys and an art instructor who's just um, been trying to figure this stuff up out as I go along, and I've been learning a lot the more and more I do, and especially because Cole Gallery has brought me in to help out with this. So I'm just going to continue going as people come on board late. I'm just going to admit them. And if you guys are finding that there's a lot of background noise, like you have kids or dogs or whatever, I just ask you to mute yourself while I'm speaking so that you don't take over the audio, which happens quite a bit with Zoom. So one thing when you guys are running classes, you might also want to ask your students to do is mute themselves during the class and then unmute themselves when they have a class. Because what will happen is if like my dog starts barking, for example, and somebody else is trying to talk, you'll notice that when you look at our screens, if somebody's talking, they have a yellow outline around their screen. Can you see that? That there's a yellow outline around my screen right now. But if, like Heather, for example, right now hers is yellow because she has some noise going on. So what happens is that when there's noise going on, another person gets the yellow around their screen and they can actually take over the screens and the noise, you wouldn't be able to hear me talking. So just mute yourselves when you guys aren't talking and then unmute yourself. Please feel free to ask questions at any time. Just keep yourself muted in between. So you'll find every class that you start, you'll spend the first 5 minutes teaching people about Zoom and how to use it. And one of the best things you can do is just teach them about the mute button and where it is. And I'll just usually point, I'll say at the bottom of your screen, you'll see a mute button. If you're on your phone or an iPad, it may be at the top. So look for the little microphone icon and so on and so forth. And I think Monette sent you all the handout. Did you send everybody this handout, Monette, by any chance? Not yet. Okay, wait. Don't send it yet because I'm going to make an edit to it. So I will edit it and then send it to everybody, okay? Because I'm going to make one edit to it from the old version you had. So you guys will all get this handout later tonight. So Monette, thank goodness. I'm glad I got you before you sent it out. So you guys are going to get this handout that is information for instructors who are doing Zoom, and it has step-by-step instructions on how to start a Zoom class, how to schedule it, and some helpful tips you can give your students when you're instructing to help them through some of the technical challenges. So I'm talking about a lot of stuff here tonight. We're going to record this session so you can have it to watch later, but also you'll have everything in this document. And as I just mentioned, I'm changing it already. I'm constantly changing it. I'm learning new things along the way too. So again, don't think I'm an expert. So I'm just going to jump right into this. I want to share a couple things with you guys. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take over the screen. I'm going to share my desktop with you. So you should all see my messy desktop of my computer here right now. I'm going to start with the agenda. So when you guys are running a class, you can do this same thing. You can share your screen. You'll all see, if you're on a computer, phones and iPads are much more limited, so you may not be able to see as much, but when you're on your computer, you can actually share the screen and share everything you see. So you guys can all see this. I've made my mouse, see that little arrow? Look at how big that thing is. I went in and edited the look of my mouse to be much bigger so you can all see it really clear. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna have three kind of sections to this training today. I'm gonna have one section which is gonna be all about studio setup and videos. Another section that I'm going to go about after that, about 20 minutes after that or so, is going to be all about Zoom and how to use it, tips and tricks and all that. And then the last thing I'll do is I'll talk about optional elements you could add to create some more complexity to your classes once you feel comfortable. So there's multiple things that I'm going to be talking about tonight, and I thought I'd just break it down into those three chunks. So when I start out about something and I'm talking about studio space and recording videos and such, I will get to Zoom. I'm just going to save that for a little bit. I'm going to start with just the setup. All right, pros and cons. Why would you even want to work in video, you guys? I have pros and cons here set up, and look at that pros list. When I start going through it, I start thinking about more and more stuff. I mean, people can see your demos up close and personal in a way they can't in person. You can edit students' work without even touching their originals. In class, I would just have to talk about, oh, I would move this eye a little bit. And they'd say, well, how much? A quarter of an inch, a half an inch? This way I can actually bring up their work, and I will show you this in a minute. I can actually bring up the students' work and edit it on my screen where they can see it and take a screenshot, and then they can have it and then go to their work and edit it. I can share all of my videos and handouts in one simple place. So I can just email everybody or create a student page. We'll talk about that later, but I can share everything I want students to see from my computer, as opposed to in person where I have to have a bunch of papers and have them all organized and get them handed out. This is so much simpler. You're also not limited to a geographic location. So right now I can have students coming in from Canada, from Switzerland, from Germany, from Mexico, wherever. So you really are, that's a real benefit. You can absolutely expand your area. So even if you think, oh, well, none of my friends want to do video, well, you think outside of your friends and think of people all over the world who might be interested in taking these classes, not just people in your town. You can also save edited videos. If you do decide to make videos a little bit more polished, once you've gotten comfortable with making videos and publishing them, then you can sell those as standalone products. And I'm actually working on that right now with Cole Gallery, with some of my videos that I've edited, and we can actually sell now at a lower price point. So I'm going to get revenue from those videos possibly for years and years to come. Also, I don't have to lug anything. So I don't have any stuff to put in my car and lug to class and then try and find parking. I can just do everything from home, and I'm safe at home. I won't get coronavirus. What are the negatives? Well, for one thing, of course, you're not there in person. So, you know, it's a little bit of a different environment because you're not feeding off of each other the same way you normally would. You're talking to your computer. It's a little weird to get your mind around that. It can take some time. And I'm going to acknowledge that it is scary. I understand that. The first time I did a Zoom class, I was so scared and nervous and anxious. And when I was done, I was so surprised at how much easier it was than I thought it would be. The other thing that could be a con for some of you guys, depending on how you like to work and how you teach your classes, if you're more of a fly off the cuff instructor, then this may not be the place for you, because I think to do an online class, you have to be just a little bit more organized than normal, because you'll want to kind of have everything figured out in advance to make your life a little easier. And then once you're comfortable, you can absolutely go off the fly. But in the beginning, you might want to just have a little bit more control over what you're doing. I hear somebody just rang the doorbell, but I'm not seeing them. So I'm just going to quickly, yeah, I don't see that person. So if somebody, for some reason, oh, here we go. There we go. Okay, I'm just going to admit her. Okay, so that's the pros and cons list. And I can send all this to you guys as well. Now, there are kind of like 3 levels of video classes, or online classes, I guess I should say, that I'm going to talk about tonight. And I'm going to start by talking about the no pre-recorded video, where everything is live. Okay, so that's the first one. And basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you some pictures of what that could look like what I've done in the past. So when I've done no pre-recorded video, everything is live. There's a couple of ways you can shoot that. You can just take your laptop. This is a picture of my studio, and you can see here I have my son's laptop on my garbage can sitting on top of a table that's as close to my easel as it possibly can be, and this is what my students would see. They'd see this screen and my easel there. So the downside of this, of course, is that my easel looks fairly small. It's hard to get in close this way, but this is one way you could do it. This is the bottom of the line, simplest way to do it, where you don't have to have a bunch of fancy equipment, just your laptop, and you're just hooked up to directly to Zoom, and you just start painting and talking. The one thing I will say about this is you need to make sure that your laptop is a better laptop, not something like what I was using here. In this picture, you see this laptop is my son's Chromebook. And the problem with a Chromebook is it doesn't have a dedicated Wi-Fi card inside. So I had really bad connectivity, and I kept dropping out. Some of you might find that from time to time. So if you are on an older laptop, try and either hardwire your laptop into your internet with an Ethernet cord, if that's possible, or buy a Wi-Fi extender and put it next to that laptop. Put it somewhere near your laptop so that you have the best Wi-Fi you can have for your class, because there's nothing worse than when you're doing a class and everything keeps cutting out. It can still happen. It can still happen at any time because, you know, everybody's at home right now and Wi-Fi networks are being stretched. So, you know, technical problems can still happen, but that's just one way you can do it. The way that I prefer to do it now, though, is to pre-record my video. I'm going to show you this little picture of my phone duct taped to my garbage can on top of my table. So this would be the next step up. This is how I did my free demo for the Cole class that I did back in earlier this month, or in April, where I actually took my phone, hooked it up to a little tripod thing that I got free, I think, when I bought my phone, and then duct taped it to the top of my garbage can, and then just recorded myself painting and talking. And I didn't even have to do any editing. I could literally just open up the video and just scrub it. So like I'm doing right now, I'm sharing a screen with you. I could literally go in and I could open up a video that has not been edited yet. Let's say this video here. I could just open it up and start playing it. Oops, that one's sideways, but you get the idea. So I can scrub forward in the video or backward, so I can make it look like it goes by really quickly or slowly. Of course, I edited my videos so they were more sideways. But even an edited video.
So my demo now that I have this grisaille,
you can hear that audio break in, so I can sit back and have a cup of coffee while my students are just watching my demo. And again, it didn't have to be edited. It could just be the video, the raw video. And again, I can fast forward through places. I can skip to another place where if I want to show something specific, like how I put in the whiskers, I can go towards the end and talk about the brush I used, how I turned the canvas this way or that way. And so I can just record a video as simply as with duct tape, taped to my garbage can, and then put it on my computer. And you can put it on your computer by using a little memory stick, or you can hook it up with a cable and transfer it to your computer, either way. And then you just play it. That's a nice, simple way of doing it. You can always get a little bit fancier, and you can create some sort of setup. Now, this crazy contraption Ron made just the other day for us to record in our studio. So this is in my studio, and we just used PVC pipe to put together a framework that would be stable, but that would allow us to hook up our phones here, or here if it's shorter, or up here if we want a really big view. So this would be something that would be another step, and there's even better steps than this one. I mean, this is like a hacked homemade solution. Ron did a fabulous job, and it works really well for us because now we can have our cameras right above us, film, and then edit the videos afterwards. But if you know Joe McKechnie, he's got like the Cadillac of video systems. So he has a really nice system with great lighting and a bunch of different monitors and all kinds of fancy equipment that he is willing to share with you on a consultancy basis. So it's not a free product that he's giving. He's actually selling his services, and he can help you set up your entire system with cameras and lighting and all kinds of hookups to be able to hook these up to your computer if you want to go that direction. One thing I do want to say, you guys, is if you have been thinking the way that Ron and I used to think, it's that, you know, hey, I want to make videos and produce them on DVD and sell them. And the one thing I have to say is that's a bit of an old way of thinking. Even Ron and I were talking today, and that's not something that people are really doing that much anymore. It's pretty much going towards streaming. You can still make DVDs of the videos that you've created later if you want to, but just start thinking about it as all being streaming based. And when I say streaming, I just mean maybe it lives on YouTube, or it lives on Vimeo, or it lives on your computer and you're sharing it just through Zoom. So that's one way of doing this. And I'm going to, I can go drill down into a little bit more detail here in a minute. And I'm just going to kind of go through Zoom a little bit more detailed now. And then, and then we'll go into talking about some more details that you guys can go into. All right, so let's see, chat. Oh, my husband's going to make dinner. That's awesome. So he's gonna jet out. I'm gonna record this, as I said, so anybody can watch that later. Please, if you have a question for me, just throw it in the chat and I'll answer it as I can. And you can also unmute yourself and ask a question too. So what I'm gonna do right now is I wanna show you guys Zoom, and I'm going to give you an idea of how I can share the screen like I'm sharing it right now, how you can share the screen for your students and how that can be used to help with your students' work. So I'm sharing this whole thing. I recorded my whole screen because I can't share Zoom with you. When I share Zoom, you don't see any of the controls. So I can click share. That's what I see when I click share screen. I see these things pop up. So if I click whiteboard, I actually can get this whiteboard that I can draw on. These are the tools right here. I cleared those all out. And then I'm going to go and share my desktop next. So if I click desktop, then I'm doing what I'm doing right now for you guys. I'm showing you a video of me taking a video of my screen. I can go to my email and I have my students email me their works in progress. I can click open that email that they've sent me. I can zoom in on that picture that they sent me of their work in progress. They showed me the old painting that they did to the left and then the new painting they did to the right with some changes. At the top of the screen there, that's where all my controls move for Zoom. I can go to more to see the chat feature, but also other controls. Like I can go in and hide certain video panels and I can record to my computer or to the cloud. Always record to your computer. So you can kind of play around with some of those functions. It's annotate that is important here. When you click on annotate, see these little buttons I have? I can draw right on my screen. I can change the color and format. I get this marker and I can say, okay, let's change this nose. See over here, the old painting, you know, there were some things that were working. In the new painting, more things are working, but maybe that nose comes out too far and looks like a wolf. So let's just shave this off. And that's the way I can show my students where I would edit some of the pieces. Let's make that muzzle a little smaller so it looks more like a cat and less like a wolf. And the eye shape, I can say, well, the eye needs to be more of a line, a slit, not a big, like a real person's eye, because it's on the side and it's a cat. So I can use this annotate tool in Zoom to actually point out things that I would change for my students. So it's kind of powerful. You can actually go in there and easily edit anything, point out all kinds of different things. The eraser tool erases it, or you can go to clear and clear all your drawings, and then click on save to save the screen. It'll show up if you click show in Finder. So that allows you to save that image for your students so that they can see what it is that you were showing them. So save that picture and then send it to them after class is over. Now, I'm going to share with you guys another thing that you can share on your screen, which is you can take your laptop or your iPad and hook it up to your laptop. Whoops, I'm going to move this back over. And I can actually go in now and say, okay, I'm going to share my iPad via cable. And I hook up my phone via cable, my iPad or my phone. I prefer to share my iPad to my phone because my phone is too tall and skinny. And you really can't make this horizontal, at least that I found. I'm sure there is a way to do it. I just don't know. So if you find out, let me know. And then look at this. This becomes a document viewer now. Now my iPad is sitting on a tripod next to my computer. I can go in and you know, again, that's just showing you where you can go to chat and you can check and see if there's anywhere you can change the format. I haven't found one yet, like I said. And then I can draw for my students. Or I can use this document viewer instead of drawing to just show them my tools. So I can literally just bring out some of my tools and put it in front of that document viewer for them so they can actually see, oh, this is the eraser I was talking about, or this is the pencil I think you should use for class. So I'm going to close that out. And that's where Zoom can be really powerful. It's a lot of the functionality of Zoom can be done in Zoom. So you can share other screens. You can share your phone, which is set up over top of your desktop or your easel, and share the demo that way so you can work live. And it's all through this share screen like I'm showing you right now. Here's another video that I just did of my desktop where I'm showing you Zoom and how we can schedule a meeting. So on your desktop, when you open Zoom, click schedule. You go and you set the date. You can set the time, the start and end time. If it's a meeting that's recurring, like a weekly drawing session, click recurring meeting. And then the link is always the same each week. Generate your meeting ID automatically and require a password. And then I always turn my video on for both me and my participants. You can turn it off if you'd rather not have them on. And then audio. Choose computer audio. You could do telephone and computer audio, but for a visual class, it doesn't make sense. I use a Google Calendar, so I just click that. And then important, enable a waiting room. Super important. And allow your students to join before you. All the rest of it is options for you. But enabling a waiting room is one of the most important things. You can automatically record your meeting. I do it locally, not in the cloud. And that way I have a little video at the end of this session like I'm going to have today. When I click schedule, up comes my calendar because I chose to do my Google Calendar. My Google Calendar comes up, you'd say allow, and suddenly it's in your calendar along with all the links that you would send to people. Go up to the top, click meetings, and that's where all your meetings will live. So you can go in and copy that invitation. So play around with some of those, you know, the chat features, the contacts features. You can enter all your contacts in there. I'm going to stop that share for a minute. So based on that quick overview of everything, now we're halfway through the class, and I've kind of gone over a quick overview of some of the setups and how you can record video. And I've also gone over just quickly how you set up Zoom and how you can use Zoom to share your screen. You will have, again, this video to look at in your leisure later. I want to open it up to some questions, but actually real quick before I do, I want to show you guys another option I almost forgot about completely. Another option you have for giving feedback to your students, but also another option for your workshops. So for my workshops, what I like to do is I create a student page. So I've done this through Cole Art Studio because I'm working with them now, but you could do this on a free blog, or you could do a student page on your own personal website where you create a new page. I've password protected it, so I'm going to write in the password to go into this page, and I'll show you what I've created for my students. I've created a page where my 5-week students can download all of the documents I want them to have for this class. These are all PDFs that when they click, it's just a link to my Google Drive. And that Google Drive has that document for them to print out and use in class. Some of you may not have handouts. You don't need to worry about any of those. But for me, I like to have these handouts or images that augment the live class. And then as you scroll down, I also can keep a bunch of videos there. So free videos I have on my YouTube channel of, you know, the supply list for this class, whether in your oils or acrylics. I have all my demo videos that are password protected because they're only for paid students. And then I have a bunch of extra videos that are things like how to layer your oil paint, or how to dry brush with acrylic paint, or how to clean your brushes, or how to make different marks with tools, or use a palette knife. I have a bunch of content that I've created over the years that I can add here. So you may not have that wealth of videos, and these are all poor quality videos, by the way, so you can go take a look at them on my YouTube channel and see what I'm talking about. They don't have to be super polished. It can come across as authentic when it's a little homegrown. So don't stress out about going for the Cadillac of videos right off the get-go. Just shoot it, tape to your garbage can, shoot a video of yourself, you know, doing a dry brush technique, or doing a technique that's unique to you, or some element that you want to show your students, and it gives them something to go off of and gives them that basic kind of knowledge that they might ask a lot in your class. You know, if somebody's always asking you, how do you do this? Maybe make a short video of it and put it on a student page that then people can go to and look at. But this is, again, not something that is expected of you guys at all. This is just, I'm just sharing with you what I do. That doesn't make it in any way the right way to do anything. Okay, so now I want to share with you guys something else. All right, so I use Photoshop because I used it in my graphic design career many years ago. And this is another method that you could use to share with your students edits they might make. So I save this particular method. This is outside of Zoom for showing my students where I would make edits in their video or in their paintings. So I have one-on-one sessions that I'll do with students who've been painting with me for quite a while. And so I can say, okay, Sarah gave me permission to use this painting, by the way. So I can say, Sarah, let's look at this painting that you've got that's working fabulously. And I think what's happening is the chin is too short and the forehead is too long. So let's change that. So I can go into Photoshop and actually use a brush tool and select a color and then actually paint it in on that layer. So I can actually go in there and paint it in and oh, maybe I went too big. Now I'm going to make this a little bit smaller. But this isn't something you have to learn how to do. It's just another element where I can go in and add little by little all these edits that I think would help make this painting look a little bit more like her niece, who she was trying to make it look like. So I can make those lips bigger. I can say, okay, the eyes look too flat. So let's make those eyes more vertical and less horizontal. And I can actually edit that image in Photoshop, save this, and send it to her. I can send each layer individually so she can see the changes I would make to the face, to the shadows, to the hairline, to the hair itself, to the nose, to the eyebrows, to the eyes. Like I can go as deep or as little as I want to go in terms of editing or critiquing for her. And you really have to play it by ear with your students. Again, this is a very limited number of students that I would go to this detail with. This is more of that one-on-one working with them in a private session via Zoom. And it's so much more powerful than anything I could do before in person. Because in person, all I was doing was talking to them and kind of showing them with my fingers on their painting because I would never touch another artist's work. That's just the way that I work. And a lot of artists will go in and edit the painting for them. And that is helpful because they can see, but then it's already been done. So you can see there's like pros and cons of both working from life with your students, but there's no downside of working from online critiquing with Photoshop or Zoom because I'm not editing their painting at all. And I can edit right on top of their painting, even if I am an artist who doesn't want to touch another student's work or another artist's work. So that's the biggest benefit that I have found with these online classes. And it's the biggest benefit my students have found. And I've noticed a lot of my students who would do maybe a one-on-one session with me once every couple of months are doing it weekly now because they're getting so much more out of it than they were getting before. And you saw my schedules. I mean, I'm doing quite a bit of these one-on-one sessions because these students really enjoy that kind of direct feedback. Okay. So Susan, you, if you want to unmute yourself, I see that you've asked a question. I had a problem copying and pasting my meeting info to Monette. How do you share this info? So what do you mean? Could you mind just expanding on that idea?
Yeah, so she had me go into Zoom and I scheduled the meeting.
Yeah.
Then she said, well, copy and paste this so that I know what you just set up. And I couldn't figure out how to do it.
Oh, great question. So let me share screen and real quick, I'm going to show you where you would do that. Okay. So I'm just going to go into my video on Zoom scheduling, or actually, yeah, my Zoom scheduling. I think that's where I can show it. Oh no, hang on. Let me just quickly see which video. So sorry. There we go. Okay, so one of the places you can go to, and let me just quickly fast forward in here. Okay, so see, once I've scheduled my Zoom, I go up to meetings up here, and I can click on my Zoom meeting right there, and I can click copy invitation.
Oh, okay.
And then I can just go into my email and paste. So that's one way you could do it. Another way you can do it is you can open up your actual, so I'm going to go into my calendar here. I'm going to go into my calendar where I have my Zoom meeting. I'm going to double click it and see how you can see all of the Zoom information down here. It automatically pastes all the Zoom links and everything into your calendar. So I'm going to copy it and then paste it into an email. That's another way I can do it.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what if you haven't set up Google Calendar?
You can choose your calendar. So when you go back to that video of scheduling,
Uh-huh.
down below, see where it says calendar down here?
Yeah.
If you use iCal, you can click iCal. If you use Outlook, you could click other calendars and maybe Outlook comes up in there.
So iCal, that's my Apple calendar on my laptop
You got it.
or an iMac?
Yep.
Okay, duh. Okay.
No, this is a great question. I'm glad you asked that. Okay, Patty Linaforte, are you using a mouse or computer pen when editing on Zoom? Great question. You can do either one. So if you are somebody who has a trackpad on your laptop, you could use your trackpad to draw with your finger. If you have a touch screen on your computer, some people do, you can use your finger to draw on the screen, or you can use your mouse. I'm using my mouse. I have used Wacom tablets. I've had a few of them, and I actually didn't like them, which is weird because I'm an artist, and you would think I would love the tablets, but I don't. I prefer using my mouse, so I'm more comfortable. You do what's more comfortable for you. Good question. All right, guys, anybody else have any other questions? Please feel free to unmute yourselves to ask. And if there are multiple people talking at once, I'll just go for the first person that I see who's highlighted yellow. Don't all speak at once. It looks like Megan, are you connecting to audio now? I see you, I see your computer screen. On my screen, because I'm the host, I can see more controls. So I can see you're trying to connect to audio. Is that correct?
We're here. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Yeah, we're here. We have really lousy internet service, so we drop you every once in a while and come back.
Okay.
So, there you go.
I'm sorry.
We live in the boonies on Whidbey Island. So.
And that's a tricky thing. So that's that's one of the biggest challenges of hosting an online class. You have to try and find a way to get some sort of stable internet. And boy, hasn't this coronavirus thing really illustrated to us how internet service is not a luxury in any way. It's really a necessity these days. So hopefully everybody's internet service providers will be ramping things up a little bit more so we can have better, more reliable internet service. If you're somebody who's at home working on your computer and your Wi-Fi is not stable, another thing you can do is you can try and set up a Wi-Fi hotspot from your phone. Sometimes I find that if my Wi-Fi isn't working well because my home internet isn't running well, because my neighborhood is crammed, I can create a Wi-Fi signal on my phone. Just depends on your provider whether they charge you for that. Mine's free. So I can just create a Wi-Fi hotspot and then just plug my computer into it. So there's options there, but you guys, I'm gonna let you figure that part out yourselves because I don't want to, I don't want to, again, try and make myself sound like I'm an expert on something that I'm not. But trying to get the best, most stable internet connection you can would be very helpful for teaching online classes, and it might even be just a call to your internet provider. Sometimes a new modem can make all the difference. And another thing that happens sometimes is you have to go downstairs and turn your modem off and then turn it back on, and that can make a difference too. All right, you guys. Well, if nobody else has any more questions, I'll end the call. Anytime you guys want to log off, you're welcome to. And Monette will send you this video. I'll upload it probably tonight. She'll send you a link to the video so you can watch it anytime you want. But also that PDF will be coming your way that has all of these tips and tricks that I told you about in more detail. It's quite a long document, so don't get intimidated by it. There are altogether 9 pages in here, and I'm going to make one quick edit before we send it to you, maybe 2. We'll take a look and see.
Angela, this is Mike. I've got a question.
Yes, Mike?
So how many workshops have you done like this, with not just a half day or something, but, a substantial workshop, 3 days, 4 days, something like that?
Yeah,
have you done it?
Yeah. So not many. I mean, I've done a lot of smaller workshops. I've done 2, well, I guess I've done really 1 full day workshop, like a 6-hour day. which actually went a lot better than I thought it was going to go. I was really nervous about the 6-hour day. The one thing I would say is you can prepare as much as you want to, and you can tell all your students multiple times through the class to take a break. And unless you force them to take a break, they won't. And so the one complaint I got from a student was, oh, I wish she'd have told us to take a break. And yet I told them 20 times and it was in the email. So sometimes I think what I had to do, I actually even walked away from my computer. So I'm not really sure. Sometimes you're just going to get people who are going to complain. She was older, probably not as familiar with the online setting. And it's new for all of us. So you're going to get complaints, and try not to take it too personally. I took it personally. I felt really hurt because I felt like I had done everything right. And it's just because of my anxiety, because I was so insecure about the online thing, to be honest with you. It was more about me than it was about her complaining about not taking a break. It's a really weird thing to do at first. I've probably done about 15 2-hour classes, and I've done 3-hour classes. And then I've done a couple of online demos, and I've probably done 6 or 7 1-hour one-on-one videos. So not a lot. I'm still learning too.
As far as number of participants in these classes, are you finding a certain amount is more ideal?
Yeah, I am. But
Not
that's,
too many, or what?
pardon me?
Like not too many people, or?
Yes, I personally, but that's all up to you guys, like what you want to do, right? I mean, for me, I really, I find that more than 10 or 12, and it's just too many people on this Zoom call. The screens get really little. I mean, and I have a pretty big Mac that I'm sitting in front of, and still the little videos become very small. And you don't want to have to get to a point where you have so many little videos that you have to scroll through a bunch of screens just to see who's talking to you. Like, it's difficult when you can't see people because you can't tell what they're saying. I find it very difficult when people join my classes. Like right now, it's not a big deal, but when I have a class of 12 people and I have people come on and I can't see them, then I don't know who's talking. And what I usually do is I tell folks, make sure your video is on and just raise your hand if you have a question. It's totally going back to elementary school, but that way I can see you and I know you have a question, so I can say, oh, hey, Mike has a question, or Megan has a question, or, so it's easier that way. So I personally would cap it out at 12. That's my maximum. And I haven't filled out a class yet. I mean, I still have a lot of students who are anxious about the online thing. So some of them are just like, no, I'm never going to do it. I think the most people I have in my class right now, Mona, is like, 8? I think I have a class of 8. And that's my biggest class that I've done so far. I have done demos where I've had up to 38 people, and that was just too many people. And everybody commandeers the video and everybody commandeers the audio, and it's a nightmare. And the only way I would ever recommend to anybody to do a big setting like that is if you pay the extra $40 a month on top of your $15 a month Zoom subscription to do webinar access. If you add that webinar access, then you can control the screen. Nobody gets audio or video except you. They can only participate. They can only come in and watch you. They can't talk and take over your screen. So if you want to do a class where you want to really make a lot more money and you're worried that 12 isn't enough for you to make enough money, then you might want to have a class that's more of a webinar where they can't talk. Kimberly, you had something that you wanted to add?
Yeah, I did. I think you may have mentioned it, but I want to spotlight it again because it really helped me because you kind of walked us through this before. It's that spotlight video. I didn't do that in my first session. And to your point, it bounced all around. So when I looked at the video afterwards, it didn't quite make sense. So what I started to do for my last few classes was I spotlight the video because I can control what they see. And so I just want to think that was an awesome tip that you shared. But the other thing that I found too, I live in the middle of suburbia. Everyone's online. So it doesn't matter how amazing the equipment I have or it's just Wi-Fi is going to be messy. So what I talked to someone is they said, you can download an app on your phone, and it worked for me. And you can turn off everything in your house that's Wi-Fi because especially when you're doing and teaching a class, because your TVs, you would be amazed on how many, like our light bulbs, everything is connected to Wi-Fi. And so just shutting that off and just giving you all of the Wi-Fi, I guess, helped a bunch too. So those are just the two things I wanted to share.
That is huge. And actually, I love that you brought that up, Kimberly, because I mean, I have a teenage son and my husband and everybody's on phones and TVs, and you can download an app, or if you use somebody like Xfinity, even just going to their website, you can turn off each individual machine. So you could have everything turned off and just have your computer on and just tell your family, sorry, dudes, you're not watching TV or doing anything. Go read a book, you know, go back to old school and let mom do her video or dad. So that's another way to do it. What Kimberly was talking about was spotlight video. Thank you so much for bringing that up because I completely forgot for this class. So as an instructor, you can spotlight your video. So what you do is you, let me see, if I share my screen, can you guys just nod if you can see my Zoom meeting screen? So can you see that my Zoom, no, you guys are not gonna be able to see it, are you? Can you see the videos and can you see my mouse rolling over videos? Yes, you can, Kimberly, okay, good. All right, so I'm gonna roll over my video and see this top right-hand corner, there's 3 dots. If I click on that and I scroll down as the host, I can spotlight my video so that my video now is big for all of you and everybody else is smaller. For you guys, sorry, Kimberly, can you see it?
So you can see but you can't see the Zoom part of it. I can see your screen, I can see your desktop, I can see all your videos, but unfortunately you can't see what you're talking about where you spotlight it.
Okay, so let me take a screenshot of that real quick so you guys can see it. So you can see exactly what I'm talking about. I'm so glad you told me that. Okay, so I'm just gonna go back out now and stop. Okay, so what I did is I took a screenshot. I'm gonna take it up here instead. I'm gonna show you guys what I'm looking at here in just a second with all of your videos. So when you're in Zoom, I like to go in where I can see everybody's videos at the same time. And I'm going to share this screen and go to my desktop to this screenshot that I just made, which I have so many screenshots to my desktop. I'm so sorry, I have to find out which one it is. It's not that one. Dag nabbit. I'm so sorry, you guys. This is the one problem with having a messy desktop and why I would suggest to all of you to keep everything really organized. All right, let's see. Okay, here it is. So this is what I'm looking at when I'm talking to you. I've gone up here in this top right-hand corner and I've clicked gallery view so I can see everybody's videos. But if I want to highlight my video so it's bigger for all of you, I hover my mouse over my picture, go up here to the top right corner where there's those 3 dots, click on it, and this little menu comes up. If I scroll down to spotlight video, see right now I'm spotlighted here, so I would click cancel, then I become big for everybody. Only the instructor or only the host of the meeting has that capability, but you guys all have this capability, pin video. So if one of my students, like let's say that Patty Linaforte is doing something really interesting right now that we all want to see. If we hover over her video and click on those 3 dots and hit pin video, Patty's video becomes big for each one of us individually, but not everybody else can see it. So you can kind of like spy on somebody's studio or something while they're working. If you're seeing somebody do an interesting thing, you can pin their video so they become big and not necessarily just the talker, and then unpin them when you want to go back to the speaker. Does that make sense, you guys? Okay. So you can pin the video to see somebody else up close, and as the speaker, I can make my screen be the biggest one, like Kimberly was saying. So if somebody else is making a lot of noise, as the host, I can make my video be the spotlit video so everybody sees it, no matter whether somebody's dog is making a bunch of noise or not. It's still going to be my video you see. Just the audio might get commandeered a little bit.
So I've got another question, and this is Mike.
Yeah.
On when you set this up and you've got 8 people, 10 people, what have you, if you don't have that webinar thing, do you have control over that group still, or do you have to have a more advanced service to basically?
So it looks like you cut out, but I think I understand what you're saying. So I have full control over everybody's audio and video. I can go in as the host and turn off each one of your audio or each one of your videos. So like right now, Susan is muted. I can unmute her. So I can just go in and say, no, I don't want her to be muted. But if she muted herself, she stays muted. So she would have to unmute herself after that. But if somebody's really talking a lot or making a lot of noise, I can physically go in and mute them. So that is something you can do, even if you don't have webinar. You still have controls over that. What you can't control is whether or not somebody keeps unmuting themselves. So sometimes I'll have a student who might be saying a lot of different things, and they might be, you know, asking inappropriate questions or whatever, and they keep unmuting themselves even though I mute them because maybe they don't realize they're still on screen. So that can happen, and you just have to, at some point, maybe even eject them from the meeting if they're being really disruptive. But I can't imagine that that would happen very often. It's got to be pretty rare.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. Yes, Monette? Oh, you're just saying goodbye?
No, I have a
Hi.
question.
Okay, with you.
So we've been talking a little bit with Kimberly regarding the 6-hour timing. She's been doing 3-hour classes like you once a week. And Kimberly, I was wondering, would it be okay if Kimberly talked with us just for a few minutes about some of her ideas about timing? And Kimberly, I'm specifically talking about the idea of doing a 4-hour class with the 1-hour optional critique at the end of it, and your ideas about that. Okay, thanks.
Well, I've actually seen it not only in the virtual world of teaching classes, but in person. Is people creatively, their mind checks out, and they get tired. And I want my students to enjoy the entire process, especially when they're learning, because when we're learning something new, we're very frustrated. So what I found is that most people, they can devote like 3.5 to 4 hours painting or learning. So I saw that, like I said, in person, and so I started doing that virtually as well. And every time I teach a class, I see that. So what I've opted to do was, we're going to create a painting, or we're going to have a workshop, and it's going to have a stop time at, you know, after the 3.5, 4-hour period. And then I'm staying on, because sometimes they have questions or they have critiquing, you know, just different things that come up organically at the very end. So I offer that. So then the reason why I also think that's important too is I have a student on that's international. So even though I start my class at 10 a.m., that 3-hour class, it's almost midnight her time. So if we really want to open this up and have this as an option worldwide, and you have international students, you know, I think keeping that shorter time frame is important for that as well. So having a 9 or 10 a.m. start time and limiting how long it is beneficial to people. So is that what you're wanting me to talk about, Monette? I think that's what she was asking.
Yeah. And right now we've changed your online class coming up. It's a 2-day class, and we've made it from 10:30 to 2:30 with 1 hour. So the timing is 10:30 to 3:30, but students can know that they can check out after 2:30 and be okay. The teaching time will be over by 2:30. Now, I know that, bye, Patty.
Bye, Patty.
But Ange, you said that you saw that 6 hours was fine. So maybe you can address that a little bit, how you deal with that.
Mm-hmm. I think it just depends on I think it depends on the students, and I think it depends on your instruction style and so many different factors. I mean, at the same time, the 6-hour class was set up before we went to the online setting. So I personally think that 3-hour mark is perfect. I totally agree with what Kimberly's saying, but you know, at the same time, I only had one person complain about the 6-hour class, that it was too long. She just needed a break in between, but everybody else seemed to think it was perfect for them. So it really just depends on the class and the setting. And that 1-day class was for me was like an absolute like discover acrylics class. It was a total beginner's class, and I had a 1-hour demo from start to finish, and I had a video showing supplies, and then I would have everybody work, and then they'd continually send me stuff piecemeal throughout the day. And we took a 1-hour lunch break, which again, I don't understand what happened with that other lady, but then we came back and everybody continued to work, and the people who felt tired just dropped the call. They just left. I just told them, you guys, when you're done, when you feel like you get to a place where you're finished or you're just exhausted, just log off. So I just stayed on there for the 6 hours, and I had one student stay for about 6.5 hours. She stayed a little longer than the 6-hour class. So, but most people ended probably around 5.5, 6-hour mark, but only one person left early. So I mean, it really just depends on the class and how people work. And also, you know, the editing. So they were shooting pictures of their image and then sending it to me, and then I was editing it on the fly. But I think like for my 5-week class, which I'm doing 3-hour sessions in person, that 3 hours feels too short. And in the online world, it feels perfect. It's like a perfect time for that in-depth, hardcore, deep dive into the 5 principles of painting that I do in that 5 weeks. So it's great because people can paint during that 5 hour or that 3 hours and send me their images just like they would in the full day, but then they can work on their own. And I get people emailing me stuff even throughout the week. And, I just tell them, I might not be able to get to it until the next Thursday, but I will get to it. So send it to me whenever you're done. But I felt like the 6-hour class went pretty well for me. But again, that was one class and it was, a certain kind of structure. But I mean, in person, you're there for 6 hours painting too. So, I mean, it just depends on the students and the class, I think, and the instructor and what works for everybody. It was a little boring, because I had all my pre-recorded videos. So I just pressed play, had a cup of coffee, decorated some envelopes, wrote a couple letters in between waiting for people to send me stuff. So that's the only thing I would say. I think you guys all have to play it by ear and decide what works for you. And the only way to know is just jump in and try it. It's really, I am going to admit, it's nerve-wracking the first time you do it. I'm not going to lie. It's not like this is easy for me either. And I have been making videos for quite some time. Bad videos. Again, go look at my YouTube channel, please. Know that they are terrible. So, I mean, I'm not doing anything great, but I haven't had any real complaints other than that one. Yes, Monette.
So, go ahead, Monette.
I was just going to ask you to address how you deal with people who hog the microphone, who hog the camera.
So
But I think that Susan and Kimberly probably have more important questions.
Well, I'll address that real quick because that has come up. You know how it is in a class, you always get that one really needy person. And so what I tell my students is, and this came from Jennifer Deal, this was her thing. She said, I'm going to make sure that everybody gets an equal amount of time, and I'm going to write down the order that you join the class. So the order that she admits you into the Zoom session, and she goes through each one of their, she does one critique on each one of them. And then if somebody has more questions, they can wait their turn and come back around again. And I thought that was really smart. And I learned that before I even started doing these bigger, longer classes. And now I do that. I'll say, somebody will say, oh, and I have another question. I'll say, oh, hang on. Let's just go back to Kimberly. She was next in line. And then we just go down through the list. Yeah. Okay, Kimberly.
So I think, was there someone else that had a question? Because I was thinking about what you're saying and I forgot mine. So if you want to go on to somebody else.
Sorry.
No.
Susan?
So I was thinking about, your extra hour at the end to critique people's work. Well, I was picturing myself teaching, in the classroom. And at the end of the class, we'd have our wall of fame and everyone would put their paintings on the wall so everyone could see it. So how could you suggest that there's a way I could share people's stuff like all together, or am I limited to just that one person's painting at a time? You know what I mean?
Here's what you could do. I'm going to share my screen to show you. So if I get a bunch of images, I'm going to go back to hang on one second. Sorry guys, I kind of moved my video around here. Let's imagine that I had a couple of people send me images. Okay, that was from Monette. So for example, I'm just going to go to Valerie because I just had classes with her recently. So I had one class here, I could download it. And then I had another email from her with another class, maybe down here. Oh, gosh. But let's say I've already downloaded some images from her. So what I can do is I can just download everything. I'm going to go to my downloads folder and I can just open them all up all at once. So if I'm sharing my screen, you're seeing all of the paintings, and I can just make them smaller if I need to like take up less room. But you could have everything up on the screen that way. So that's one option that you could do through share screen. And it would just take a minute to set up where you could have all the images all open at the same time and just make sure that they'll be seen. That's an option. I'm sure there's a better way, but
I could have them go on a break and then I could be organizing those and thanks.
Yeah.
So I remembered what I was going to say.
Kimberly.
I was a nervous wreck. Yeah, I was a nervous wreck before my virtual class. I don't know why. I think it's because in person I can control my elements, but I felt like on the virtual world there could be so many things that it was going to happen and just destroy the whole thing. So I highly recommend to host a mini virtual class with maybe your friends. And I had my son go upstairs and I just sampled everything and I was able to troubleshoot quite a bit and it helped me get rid of some of that anxiety. The other thing, try to make this virtual class as close to your real style. I think it'll be a lot easier as well. I didn't want to recreate the wheel before I try to do something new. And I found that if I set up my studio space and my cameras to be very similar to how I would teach in class, it kind of helped me get through the very first couple that I've done. And I'm doing my, third one or fourth one coming up. So I'm still very new. But anyway, though, if you haven't done it before, I would probably share those as well.
That's great. And I think that is true. I mean, I think for all of us, it makes us feel anxious because it's like being an instructor from beginning all over again. Remember that first class you ever taught and how you felt? It's kind of like, okay, I'm out of my element. I don't know how this is going to go. And I don't know how the student experience is going to go. And all of us are worried about our students, but you can do it. Trust me. If I can do it, you can do it. Monette.
Do I have time for one more thing?
Yeah, I'll go as long as you guys want.
Well, I just want to tell you guys about a new idea that I came up with a few weeks ago. And I want to invite you all to participate. So the idea is that we're going to have something special for Zoom, special for our online classes called Elements. You know how we've had Discovery where somebody can come in and learn something brand new. If they're a brand new beginner, so they sign up for our Discovery class. Well, this is going to be called Elements. And it's going to be a 3-hour class via Zoom. And we want as many instructors involved as possible. And the idea is it will be elemental. So you can do a 3-hour class on basics of acrylic painting. You could do a 3-hour class in composition, just composition. You could do a 3-hour class in quick color theory. You could go anywhere you want with this in your medium. And you could make it as basic as you want, or you can make a deep dive. So our first person is going to be Scott Gallatley. He's working on something and he's going to do a deep dive into his version of color theory. It's going to be fast and deep, but it doesn't have to be fast and deep. It can be just a quarter of an inch deep and 3 hours long. So I just want to invite you guys to join, and it just means signing up to teach at one 3-hour class. And if I can get like 1 or 2 of these a month, it will take the place of our Try It classes, which have always been sort of a fun introduction to our workshop program. We don't have that anymore. We're letting go of our Try It's until we can do in person. So this will be, it will be a charge probably around $80, $85, and we'll go forward with that. So I want to welcome you and invite you into that. Okay, sales pitch over.
That's awesome, Lynette. Thank you. And the one thing I just want to point out again is the opportunity here is so great right now because we're all learning this together. We're all just starting out. Like you heard, Kimberly's done a couple of classes. I've done a couple of classes, and so we're learning too. And it's like the blind helping the blind to a certain extent. But what the great thing about that is that this is the best time to jump on board and start doing video classes because we're all learning together. But if you are nervous and you decide, no, I'm not going to do it, and then a year later, we're all up here, it's harder to bring you back up to speed. So right now is like the perfect time. We are here to help guide you through, even though we're constantly learning things and changing them as we learn. Now's the time to learn this stuff because in a year from now, I might not still be working at Cole anymore, or I might, there might be somebody else who is already working there, but it's like 10 times higher level than where I even was by the time I left, and isn't interested in teaching people how to start it again. So it's kind of a nice opportunity that Cole is presenting to you guys as artists to learn how to do online classes, even if it's just in a really basic way. I'd take advantage. All right. Is that it, you guys? No other questions? Mike and Megan, any other questions before I tune out? All right, you guys, I'm going to stop the recording now, and I'm going to end this meeting. And
Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you so much for
Angela.
joining me. Absolutely.
Thank
Absolutely.
you.
Thank you. And just let us know if you guys have questions, and if you want me to help you out with a video, if you want to just try a quick little one, just let me know. And if we can schedule it, I'll do it. Hey, Dina.
Thank you, everybody.
Thanks, Angela.
Thanks, Ange.